Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joshua Campbell Torrance. I'm the Executive Director here at the Webb Dean Stevens Museum. I'm so glad you can join us today. Today, March 1st, marks the start of Women's History Month. And joining us at the Stevens House is Cynthia Riccio, our Director of Education.
Hi there. We are in the Isaac Stevens House, and we are in the front parlor of the house. Now, the time period that we interpret this house is, say, 1820s to 1830s. So what was happening during that time period? One of the things that we talk about when we interpret this house is the fact that things are now being made more by machines as opposed to being handmade. So that is going to end up giving women a lot more free time than they had before. Now, when we talk about women's history, we usually talk about women kind of staying in the private sphere, which involved the home and the family. But once we get into the 1820s, 30s, and 40s, women do start to have somewhat of a voice when it came to social issues. One of the first things that they started to kind of gather and talk about was temperance. They didn't want to have husbands or fathers engaging in a lot of alcohol drinking because it was thought that that would be bad for the family. So that's one of the things that women started to get involved in. The way that we have this room set up here today is kind of a women's circle. We do know that women used to gather in sewing circles during the time of the Revolution, and this is kind of an extension of that. So women would get together, they could bring their knitting with them, they would even bring their children with them, as shown by the toys that are here in the room. And this would be a place for them to gather and talk about some of the social issues of the day. So temperance, they could have been talking about abolition. They would have eventually, once we get into the 1840s, they may have even been talking about extending rights for women.
Well, thank you so much, Cindy, for giving us this informative history on women's knitting circles and the history of women's history here at the Stevens House. We're very excited that you're joining us on these History at Threes. We can't wait for you to be back here in person to learn about this history and all the other many histories and stories we have to tell here at the Webb Dean Stevens Museum. Of course, we can't do that until it's safe, but until then, we hope you all stay safe and stay well.